Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
Good. What's on your shelf there behind you? They look like little houses with Oilers
Yeah, they are.
things.
Or that's just
That
decorations.
Christmassy stuff there?
Christmassy decorations.
Oiler decorations?
Row housing with Oilers colors. And
you got some hockey cards there, too. Are they old, super old ones?
I got hockey, book about hockey. That's a book about the WHA that looks like hockey cards.
Oh, okay.
Baseball books and baseballs. And
all right.
Telescopes and all kinds of stuff up there, and 2 shelves of hockey books.
It's
jammed in.
Bruce, a big night for the Oilers. It's a bit of a downer at the end, which we'll talk to, but this is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast about Edmonton's 7-1 win over the Wild of Minnesota. And we'll go with 2 good things each, Bruce. What's your first one?
I'll go with Ty Emberson, who kind of lit a fire, I think, under his teammates. Early, absolute hell-bent for leather fight with 94 green Jacob Lauko for Minnesota. And this was an action-packed fight, to say the least. Both guys wound up repairing to the room for repairs, I think, because the fists were flying and they were throwing them without much regard for defense. Twice, Emberson threw a wild punch, missed, and took a straight right to the chops, and I still think he probably won the fight. Anyway, it was just a spirited affair, but to me, that was just, for him, the tip of the iceberg, or maybe the thing that set him off to what I thought was a very fine game from the young fellow tonight, who had an assist +1. He was all over it on the possession, 15-7 shot attempts for Edmonton when he was on the ice. And I just thought sound behind his own blue line and was trying to create a little bit, move the puck to good spaces and to good people in those spaces and get the puck going north. So he grabbed my attention as a good thing, having deferred my other good thing that I had last game to you this time. So
okay.
You take it away, or you would make a comment on Emberson if you care to.
Yeah, on our grade A shots, it was 20-11 Oilers over the Wild, and the subset of 5 alarm shots 10-4 for the Oilers. So they stomped them in the on the score and also on the grade A shots. Emberson Bruce was contributed to 2 grade A shots, and he kept a clean sheet at even strength. No mistakes on a grade A shot against even strength.
For a D-man, that's first rate.
Yeah, that really is. That's what you want to do if you're a D-man in a hockey game, that's for sure. Man, I was glad he got through that fight without breaking his hand. I don't mind the fighting, but man, those guys hitting each other's helmets like that, it just strikes me as
they were throwing them.
Oh God, they're lucky if one of them didn't break his hand, they're lucky, because they were just hammering each other's heads. And a few of them landed. I think Emberson might have. He said he caught a few. I think he might have got the other guy with an uppercut.
He landed some, and he took a couple for sure. Twice he kind of took a wild punch and lost his balance, and Buddy popped him one.
Yeah.
In the sort of next second. And anyway, it was a let's call it a spirited tilt. And it's not just that reason for him. I'm happy with his play. I think he's making good progress. And I think he's starting to come along pretty nicely back there. He's made a big, big, big difference on the penalty kill since they put him on the first unit with Ekholm. And then they just left Nurse and Kulak on the second unit. And the whole PK settled down basically from then. because that was after game 15 they did that, and they'd given in 16 power play goals at that point. I think it's like 3 since.
You remember Les Thornton from Stampede Wrestling, Bruce? He was a
Less
little
uh-huh.
British dude, big, like he was strong, and he always threw the uppercut punch.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's what Emberson's punch reminded me of. Bruce, my good thing is, well, my first one is Derek Ryan scoring. You know, he's been trending down as a player, but he's still a useful player, and he makes good plays. I think I think he would be much like it would be at this point before if him and Perry could rotate each play half the games. That'd be about right. But it's great to see him score. He's been such a fantastic player for the Oilers. He's come through in a number of big games, and he scored a very nice goal on a tip shot, 7th goal of the game. Darnell Nurse, who's tearing up the pea patch, playing his best two-way hockey of his NHL career right now, which is something I didn't think I'd be saying at the start of the year, but I'm so glad that I am. Great shot from the
Mm-hmm.
point, and Ryan tipped it in. So very nice, excellent to see Derek Ryan get his, I think it's his first goal of the year.
He got robbed of one earlier, and it was a defenseman that stopped it.
Yeah.
Connor Brown came off the end boards with the puck, and he had 2 jam shots at the side that the goalie kept out. And the second rebound popped out to Ryan, and it looked like he was going to slam it in. And the D man for Minnie, John Merrill, made a goal line save. And at that point, I made a comment to you in our scoring chance document that he may never score again, kind of thing. He's come close so many times. I mean, he did score early in the season. He got it overturned by a video review.
Oh
Right, that
yeah.
was like game 3 against Calgary, and
That
then
sucks.
just nothing since. So nice to see him find the score. It was an utterly meaningless goal in the blowout. It's welcome to the scoreboard. He's been absolutely crushing it on the faceoff dot. In the last 6 games, Ryan's taken 39 faceoffs and won 30 of them.
Holy moly! See, there you go. He still is a
He's a
valuable player in a
right-handed
lot of ways.
stick, and that right-handed stick has value on the dot. It's not like this guy's a useless player. He brings stuff, but he's only been playing a lot of games, 6, 7, 9 minutes. It's rare that he even gets to double digits. He's a specialist, and they spot him in there, and he's he's nearing the end of a way, way longer line than anyone ever would have guessed for this guy.
What's your next good thing, Bruce?
Yeah, I got to go with the 3-1 goal. I think this goal actually killed this game. This was a shorthanded goal scored by Edmonton early in the second period, and they were up 2-0 after a really dominant first period, and then they gave up a power play goal with like 2 seconds left and a penalty kill that had been really good right up until the very end of it.
2-1.
And then Edmonton drew a penalty before the end of the period, and then first minute of the second, Evan Bouchard took a penalty to not only cancel that, but to give Minnesota another minute 20. And you're thinking, no, they're going to get another power play. They already scored one. They make it 2-2 here, and all that good work is gone, And instead, the whole game, I thought, turned on this play where Matthias Janmark made a really nice play in his own end to fish the puck out of some traffic, and he avoided. It could have been a troublesome situation just where he got the puck and turned into, but he got through it, and he was able to feed it off to Brown, Connor Brown. Of course, Janmark and Brown. When Edmonton scores shorthanded, it's usually both of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
One from the other one. And here we are again, right? This year, 2 shorties. Last year in the playoffs, 3 shorties. And I think between them, they had 9 points on those 5 goals. Anyway, they both got a point on this one. Brown took it up, and he fired it over to Emberson, who joined the rush because, the ice really opened up because Minnesota was kind of trying to crash the net there. And when the puck got behind them, there was open ice, and Emberson smartly jumped up and he fed a pass through to Janmark, and Janmark, I'm not quite sure what he did other than he won the battle because the puck went through him and through the guy who was trying to check him. And did you see him as lifting the guy's stick, or was it just sort of a 50-50 and it went right through both of them, but it came right over to Connor Brown, back to Connor Brown, steaming up the left side, and he just buried a great shot right under the crossbar. What? Connor Brown did that? Wow. And that made it 3-1, and I think Minnesota was dead team walking from that moment on. That was the play that put Edmonton, and the Oilers just sort of put their foot down and took over the game from there. So I mean, full credit to the Oilers, but I think Minnesota was beaten in that one specific moment with the ace PKers taking it up ice. And I do like their willingness, Brown and Janmark, on the penalty kill to carry the puck. They don't just rifle it down the ice every time they touch it. If there's open ice in front of them, they'll take the puck in there and they'll look around and they'll assess. And you don't usually see a bad pass and the puck coming back the other way 4-on-2, but they'll take their chance if they get it. And every once in a while they'll stick one in the net, and they did here. And there was a huge goal in the context of this game.
They are cranking it up on the penalty kill. Of course, they're part of the historically brilliant PK in the 2024 playoffs for the Oilers. And they're revving it up again. They got off to a bit of a rough start. I'd say both of them on the PK, but they're going now. Always great to see Connor Brown score. And of all the Connor Browns in the world, he's the Connor Browniest. That's an old
he's
Charlie
the prototype.
Brown. That's the Charlie Brown line. But it sure applied last year when it was like Lucy pulling out the football every time Connor Brown went into score and he couldn't score. But he's got 4 goals now. And, if you average out his salary over the 2 years, Bruce, and you include what he did in the playoffs, and what I expect he might do in the playoffs this year, he hasn't been a bad bargain for the Oilers overall. I know a lot of people's noses are on joint because of his cap hit that came into this season. Is it $4 million?
Yeah, from last year.
Yeah, is it 4 or is it 3 that's tacked on?
It's $1 million plus the $3.225 million bonus that remains from 23-24 when Ken Holland borrowed from the future to enhance his team of the present, his last Oilers team, and he left that cap grenade as a parting gift.
Yeah. I approved of the move at the time that Holland made. I thought it was a smart move. And so it's been controversial, but it hasn't been a disaster. Like it's too much to say, we'll see how Brown does this year before we make a final determination. But he was such a critical player in the playoffs last season.
He's a useful player, isn't he?
He's a very useful player. And so is Janmark. And, both of these guys have their critics. Janmark, a lot of people, especially a year ago, I remember the Janmark haters were out in force. Not so much anymore. But he really took a ripping from some people. But they're both excellent checking hockey players, and now and then have a little bit of offensive play as well.
Brown's got 4 now in the year, which matches what he had in a full, for him, 71 games last year. He missed a little bit of time with an injury. And now 2 shorties on the year. And I think both shorties, to be honest. And he's so good. The other thing he's great at on the penalty kill is he competes for the puck in the neutral zone when the other team is trying to rush up ice. He is not an easy guy to get through. Quite often you'll see him disrupt the rush right in the neutral zone and shoot it back down, and gain some extra seconds that way.
The only thing that can stop Connor Brown in the neutral zone, Bruce, is an illegal pick, as we saw one game. Anyway, Bruce, my second good thing is Leon Draisaitl. 2 of the Oilers' best players this year, Leon Draisaitl and Darnell Nurse, are having their best runs of two-way hockey. Leon Draisaitl, this is his best run of two-way hockey that I've ever seen. Tonight may have been the best game I've ever seen him play. I mean, I'm sure there's been better, But wow, he was just all over this game in a good way. Um, McDavid made obviously a brilliant pass to him on the power play early on that he put in off Hyman, and Hyman got the goal inadvertently. I think Hyman's probably a little bit embarrassed about that.
Hit the hosel of
Um,
Hyman's stick. Lucky it didn't go wide. Just sort of
isn't
kicked it
that
and
the
kept
truth?
going in.
I love Draisaitl's play on the next goal though the most.
Oh,
The puck protection, the speed, um, just a master of puck protection. The way he uses his body to just hammer opposing players and get by them. And he set up Kapanen for that goal. Later in the game, he crossed the third period. It was in the third period. He crossed the blue line and he puck protected, and he smashed his back and butt into the opposing player and just knocked him right over, right flying onto the ice. He made a really nice pass to Nugent Hopkins. And then he charged in and got an interesting goal that kind of, I don't know, went in off his forearm, I think, or directed in somehow.
so
I'm not
weird. Yeah, they
exactly
got a
sure.
few bounces in this game, eh?
Well, they did, but they really were dominant too. He Bruce, he's now Leon Draisaitl has 42 points in 29 games. He's fourth in NHL scoring, and he has been the Oilers MVP to date. Um, he's just playing fantastic hockey, and it's interesting because his line mates, one of them was just picked up off the waiver wire, and the other one, Vasily Podkolzin, was traded. They got him for a fourth round draft pick. So
Yeah.
they're not exactly, I don't know, Jari Kurri and Esa Tikkanen. They're just, these are two unheralded players, but Kapanen seems to be finding his game. I didn't really notice him in his first 2 or 3 games at Edmonton, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
But he's starting to use his speed to get his confidence, using his speed to good advantage. And if Podkolzin and Kapanen end up, let's say, on the fourth line in the playoffs, that's not so bad. Like these are two players that look to me like they can contribute to your team winning, even if they're not. Podkolzin hasn't. He's got 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points in 29 games. That's not bad.
I got
Kapanen, 2
two
goals,
apples
1
tonight.
assist, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points in 9 games. But and Kapanen scored a really nice goal. He just hammered that in the net. But they're interesting line mates. They're kind of from the Willie Lindstrom school of, good line mates for superior Oiler
Good
players.
pull.
Willie Lindstrom played with Anderson and Messier in the
Yeah.
80s, and he was a solid two-way player. Kapanen reminds me a little bit of that. And so if a player in his second or third or fourth NHL home can figure out how to play defensive hockey, hang in there defensively, and then also chip in a bit on the attack, he can start stringing together those $1 to $2 million contracts a year, like Matthias Janmark's doing later in his career here, and have an NHL career out of it, make a lot of money. So both Podkolzin and Kapanen have that potential, and Draisaitl seems to be thriving with them. It's just really interesting because historically, he's I think wanted to play with McDavid because he hasn't found line mates that have really meshed. But this line is meshing right now, and it's an interesting thing to see. It just makes Draisaitl forces him to be the dominant player on the ice, which is what he should be, and it gives him, I think, the most value to the Edmonton Oilers from having that player on the roster.
Yeah, Kapanen on that second goal, which to me this was the goal of the game. And Kapanen did a lot of the spade work on that play.
Yeah.
Like Podkolzin won the face-off because Draisaitl got kicked out of the face-off dot. Shocker, breaking news. But Podkolzin went in and won the draw. He got it to Leon. Leon tried an side shot, and Kapanen recovered it in the trenches, and he just worked it himself up the wall, and he held it for 5 or 6 seconds, and then he didn't just throw it away. He got it to Leon, which is a really good idea if you're going to play on Leon's line. Get the big guy the puck as often as you can, and then Leon did this whole around the zone thing. Poor Marcus Johansson was trying to cover him, and there was no chance, no chance. He tried to reach in a little bit, and Leon shrugged, and Johansson went flying, and Leon took it right around behind the net and made the perfect centering pass, and Kapanen slammed it in. So, but he started that play as well as finished. And Puck Olsen got the second assist, and he literally touched the puck once, 20 seconds before the goal. The other two guys had it the entire rest of the time. So that was, and then they had another shift in the third period, just before the 6-1 goal that sort of had any hopes of Minnesota getting a couple early ones and making a game of it. This was the one Stetcher got off the face-off. Well, before that face-off was like almost 2 minutes of domination by the Draisaitl line deep in Minnesota territory. And finally, Minnesota got the puck and iced it. So Draisaitl went to the bench. Out comes McDavid. These poor guys on Minnesota are just sucking wind out there on the ice, and they, because they've been chasing for 2 solid minutes. Faber, I just picked him off the plus-minus sheet. He played 2 minutes and 14 seconds that shift. And I think basically all the mini guys did, because the puck was in their zone for a very, very, very long pressure shift from the Draisaitl group. And then it was the post icing that actually produced the goal, because the Minnesota guys were in lactic acid mode.
The best European footballers, Bruce, when they're dominating a game, sometimes they play with what they call arrogance. They're almost taunting the other team with their skill. And I saw that from Leon tonight. There's just some plays he was just so sharp with the puck. It was like a Zlatan Ibrahimovic on the soccer pitch, kind of toying with the other guys, because he's bigger, and he's bigger and way better, and got more skill. And that was Leon tonight. Bruce, what is your bad thing?
Yeah, I'm just realizing I even got the wrong. That was a short number. Marco Rossi. Here you go. 2 minutes and 54 seconds he was on for that shift.
Woo.
2 minutes and 54 seconds.
That'll give you a spinning head.
Yeah. So,
and slow legs.
Yeah.
What's your bad thing, Bruce?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the penalty power play late in the second period, when it was 5-1, and all Edmonton has to do is they don't have to score. They just have to get out of the end of the period with that 5-1 lead, and the game's in the bag. And Jack Michaels, of course, goes and says, Edmonton's the only team in the NHL that hasn't given up a short-handed goal yet this season. And it's just a couple minutes before that power play. And the whole 2 minutes was a tire fire, with the puck being sort of behind, Edmonton being outnumbered, guys behind them, puck behind them, nobody in control of it. And 2 or 3 real Pickard saved their bacon on that PK. He made a couple of really top-notch saves. And that was the only reason Minnie didn't score, sort of I won't call it a gift, because they were their 4 were out working Edmonton's 5. But I just thought it was just the power play kind of lost its focus, and it made for a couple of nervous minutes when they really didn't need to be. So that's a pretty minor bad thing compared to the real bad thing, which you're going to talk about.
Yeah, this is a play late in the game. The puck shot on the Oilers' end, and Evan Bouchard's going for it with Mike Hartman of the Wild.
Ryan Hartman.
Oh, Ryan Hartman.
Yeah.
And
I made the same mistake on Twitter.
It's not a suspendable play, because Hartman is going for the puck, and he decides before they get there he's going to run a little interference and take out Bouchard, and Bouchard kind of goes into the net and then crashes to the ice and then crashes into the boards. It didn't look obviously to me from the play that this was going to be a terrible injury, and it may not be. After the game, they said they'll evaluate it, go back to Edmonton, go home and evaluate it. But he sure was dragging his leg coming off the ice, and in a lot of pain. And you never see that happen to Evan Bouchard. He's a pretty
He's
durable
usually
hockey
pretty
player.
impassive, and he's never missed any
Yeah,
games. Like,
yeah, no, he's smart. He doesn't get hit a lot, and he shouldn't. It
well,
was
he
just a
shouldn't have
it
got
was a
hit
it was a
there.
dirty play by Hartman to hit him in garbage time like that. Kind of a sneaky hit. Kind of a Matt Cook, Rafi Torres kind of play. And that said, it's I don't there there's no suspension there. It wasn't even a penalty, so it was a legal play.
It doesn't matter if
And
he's
it's just a really
suspended.
unfortunate that
He's a plug.
Evan Bouchard got hurt like that. You didn't like that play. I take it, Bruce.
I did not like that play at all. Like, what's he doing? It's like they're deep into garbage time. They're playing out the string. Bouchard's going back for a puck that's behind the net, and all of a sudden, Hartman changes his direction completely, clips Bouchard, and sends him flying into the net, 10 feet from the puck. Like totally cheap.
Well, I don't know if it was 10 feet from the puck.
The puck was behind the net, and he hit Bouchard like when he was going back towards the net. They were both chasing the puck. They weren't close to it.
Do you think it was a penalty then? Interference?
Uh,
Sounds like you do.
oh, definitely it was interference.
Okay.
And,
All right.
the question is, was it intent to injure, or is it just, I want to take my pound of flesh because I'm pissed off the Oilers kicked the crap out of us tonight. So I'm going to just hammer this guy because he happens to be next to me. Like, there was just no reason for it. And Ryan Hartman's got a long history of being a dirtbag, and this was just another example of that. And he's sort of a low-key dirtbag. He's not in the Matt Cook, like, king of dirtbags class. not a fan of
The
Matt
king
Cook.
of dirt. Yeah. Okay.
Not a fan of Matt Cook, but
Joe Dirt.
Hartman, yeah, he's sort of a lower key, but he's got a history, and he's got a suspension history. I meant to look it up, but I haven't yet. And he has some ghosts in his past. Let's put it that way. And it was just needless. It was garbage time, and I guess it was Ryan Hartman time at the same time. Take from that what you will, but I was not impressed with the play. Like, I thought it was reckless, and it was disrespectful.
You were asking me earlier if it's okay to call him a piece of shit on the podcast, Bruce.
Yeah, you said call him a POS, so I'll do that instead.
Okay, all right, there we go. All right, Bruce, what is your number?
Oh, right, that was your bad thing. Yeah, my number is 2,135, and that's the number of days since the last time Edmonton Oilers won a game at the Xcel Energy Center in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Holy,
just to put a proper time frame on it, this was during the reign of Keith Gretzky and Ken Hitchcock as the interim GM, and interim coach, respectively, of the Edmonton Oilers, February 7th, 2019. And the Oilers beat the Wild that night 4-1. And they were playing, it was garbage time in the season for the Oilers. They missed the playoffs that season, of course, changed out the manager, changed out the coach. And for the 5 years under Ken Hitchcock and various coaches, they went to Minnesota 6 times. Of course, they never played any games there at all in 2021. And the other 4 years, it was either 1 or 2 games there, as you will, with the Central Division, right?
Yeah.
0-6, 0-6-0. Like, they never got a point, not 1 point out of Minnesota since almost 6 years, 2,135 days ago, since they had any joy in Minnesota. And I was finally taking some joy from this game until POS got involved and kind of took the glee out of it, and now has us all sort of worried about what happens next. This was an easily won game, and then that had to happen. But nonetheless, it was high time the Oilers laid one on those guys, and they did. And they didn't just win this game, they stomped them.
How many days again was that? What's the number?
2,135.
In other words, the Oilers had them right where they wanted them. All right. My number, Bruce, is 5. And it's I was writing about this earlier today. It's the number of NHL defensemen who are earning between the league minimum $775 and about $1 million a year that the Oilers have brought in this year to essentially try out for the team. So there's Emberson, $950,000, Stetcher, $787,000, Regula and Dermott both $775,000, and Josh Brown $1 million a year. And I just think one of the differences in the Oilers in recent years is, well, since he took over, but it's really starting to make a difference, is Daryl Katz' willingness to spend money on these $1 million players. You can take a lot of stabs at $1 million hockey players if you're willing to send them to the minors. And because they don't, when you send them to the minors and they're under 1.1 million and change, they don't count against your cap. So if you have an owner who's willing to spend that amount of money, you can just keep trading for, signing these kind of players, bringing them in, see which ones work out and see which ones don't work out. And it's an excellent strategy for wealthy teams. And the Oilers so far, Bruce, I'm going to say the bets that they made on Emberson and Stetcher have really paid off. These guys are playing solid hockey, solid two-way hockey right now for the Oilers. Now, the bet on Dermott didn't come close to paying off. He never looked like an NHL player. You know, maybe he'll come back, play. Maybe preseason he looked okay in preseason. I'll grant you that. That's how you're in he came on a tryout, and that's how you're in the contract. I didn't think he played well in the regular season. He just looked a step behind. And Brown, Josh Brown, he was even further behind. He didn't look good in the preseason, and he's at this point, it's clear that Josh Brown is way down the depth charts because they brought in another big right-handed guy, Alec Regula. And he's earning the league minimum. And but it's just another great bet. And again, you have this owner willing to spend the money. If Regula, let's say he doesn't make the Oilers and they waive him, well, maybe another team's not going to pick him up, and he'll just go to the minors, and Cates is going to have to pay his full salary. Dermott earns $500,000 in Bakersfield, and he's on a two-way.
Okay.
Regula's on a two-way too. Let me just see what he makes.
$215,000 for Regula.
Regula. Okay.
Yeah.
And Brown earns.
They call him Regula when they interviewed him tonight. So presumably they got it from the horse's mouth.
All right. We'll go with that. And Brown earns $1 million down there. So good for Cates and good for the Oilers. Two of these guys have worked out. Maybe this will be the third. And it's interesting. It's an interesting move to pick him up. I think it's an admission that Dermott and Brown really didn't work out, and they're not counting on him for this year. And they just wanted to make sure that they're covered for injury. Might be needing that soon. And they have an NHL ready defenseman to plug into the lineup if someone got injured. It's a great move by Oilers management and a great move of support by the owner to support this kind of contract payouts.
Yeah, they've made since Stan Bowman got in a whole lot of small bets in the $1 million range.
Yeah, Kapanen's another one, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. He picked up Kapanen on waivers, $1 million. He traded for Emberson, $950,000. He traded for Podkolzin, $1 million. And he picked off now Regula, $775,000. It was Jackson who signed Stetcher and Brown. And even the Brown contract, I've heard some people say that's the worst contract that they've ever seen. And you know what? It really isn't.
No,
you know how much Josh Brown costs against the salary cap, which is how I personally rate bad contracts, is what impact they have on the salary cap. This much. Zero, because he's under the 1.15 million. They gave him 3 years. They gave him $1 million. They gave him, I think, guaranteed one-way money. And his job is to be, a muscle man in the organization that they can call up when they need it. He's waiver proof. No one's going to claim that contract on waivers unless they decide they need, a muscle man in their organization. And he got called up for exactly 3 games this year, which was the 3 games Darnell Nurse was out. Go figure. The club's policeman was on the shelf. Josh Brown came in. He filled in for 3 games. He didn't do what Nurse does, other than he looked after the big glowering stuff. At the back end, there was one of the 3 games that he played that there was a big rhubarb, and he just went over and stood next to the other team's bench and sort of, I don't know if he said anything, but the implication was very clear. You want to come at us, you're coming through me. And nobody took him up on it. And maybe in that one moment, that's what that $1 million was for. The owners spend it. It's not coming out of the cap. They got a guy that if such time as they need muscle, they can bring him up. They did need it for 3 games, and they brought him up. Maybe that's all they'll get for the whole $3 million. Who knows? But it's no sweat to me that they hired a big experienced NHL player. Like, you can't say he's not an NHL player when he's played like 400 games in the league. And I think his last time he was in the minors was like 5 years ago, but he hasn't been on a team as good as Edmonton. He got beat out.
I was short one guy. Actually, they signed Ronnie Attard. They traded for Ronnie Attard.
They traded for him, yeah.
And Ben Gleason went. And he's on a one-way contract, it looks like, according to the Stanley Cup, the StanleyCap.com. Oh, yeah. And he earns $850,000. So there's actually 6 of these guys, with Attard being another one of these bets. It's just really interesting that Cates is willing to do that.
He got into a fight and he got cut by a skate. I don't know how bad it is, but it sounded bad. I haven't heard and I was listening to that game, and the description did not sound good.
Never want to hear that. Bruce, when's the next game?
Next game is Saturday afternoon.
Oh, that's right, at 2
against Vegas Golden Knights. I guess Hockey Night in Canada didn't want Vegas Edmonton as their nightcap on Hockey Night in Canada. I wanted to actually look that up and see what do we get. Probably Anaheim and Calgary, or one a beauty like that, maybe Saturday night. Hey,
well, when everyone's gone to bed in Eastern Canada,
yeah, something like that. And what do we got? Boston and Vancouver. Oh, well, I'd rather watch Vegas than Edmonton myself, but I'm an Oilers fan. Anyway, it's Saturday afternoon, and because Cal Pickard played tonight, it was the right choice, and he played great. And because of that, now Stu Skinner is, rested and ready to go against Vegas, and he'll likely play Vegas and Florida Saturday, Monday. I mean, they have a wicked slate. Tampa Bay, at Minnesota, Vegas, and Florida, 4 consecutive games. So Pickard had to play one of them, and I thought they picked the right one. And then I thought he really delivered the goods too. So they'll come back with Pickard on Saturday.
Time for a sweep of these good teams, Bruce. Alrighty. Bruce,
Hartman suspended 3 games for unsportsmanlike conduct. NHL adopts Wild. Hartman suspended 2 games for tripping. These are just sort of dirty stuff. The tripping penalty might be an interesting one to compare to what happened tonight. Slew foot. It was a slew foot, but it's just sort of irresponsible and, as I say, disrespectful to his opponents. And he got one tonight.
Bruce, let's leave it there. Thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between time, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.